Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Saturday. I hope you all are doing good. I almost said happy Friday because we stream here every Friday night, but I did put out a short YouTube video. Hopefully, you all got a chance to see it, showing you what I was doing last night. Let me tell you what, it's freezing cold out here right now. I think it's like 12 degrees actual. The wind's blowing sideways, and we're not done with snow yet. It's going to be snowing tomorrow night, Monday morning, I think Tuesday night, and Wednesday as well. So, yeah, it's going to be fun around here considering I do snow removal for a living in the wintertime. But we're not outside right now. We're inside. I've got my diesel heater cranked up to 11, trying to stay warm in here, even though it's not quite so warm. But I hope all of you are warm and all of you are doing good. Those of you that live in the South, by the way, and it's like 50 degrees, I don't even want to hear about it. I don't even want to hear about how there's no rust on any of your vehicles either. Just, would you guys blame me if I just wanted to move down south like soon? Honest question. So I don't want to hear about it, all my southern friends, because I'm jealous. I wish it was like 50 degrees right now. And I wish we could keep a decent vehicle that doesn't get covered in rust in like the first 2 or 3 years because of all the stupid salt that we have to put on the roads. But with that said, shout out to all of my Michigan friends and Rust Belt state friends where we live under jackbooted tyrannical governments, where the governor of Michigan, trying to keep this a family-friendly channel here, the attorney general of Michigan, the secretary of state who wants to be the next governor. Yeah, this is what a tyrannical government looks like. The roads are terrible. Everything's rusted. And if I can just be blunt, everything up here is going to hell. But there's a lot of good people that live here. And that kind of leads me to what I want to talk about. If you remember last week, I did a live stream talking about the NSSF. In fact, I still have that article sitting right here underneath the Declaration of Independence. So I keep notes and papers on my desk here. And you know what, man? I've been thinking about this all week. The NSSF, the Firearms Industries Trade Association, the leading one, the largest one, a huge lobbyist. Tons of money involved here. They're calling for more ATF. And I've been sitting there kind of looking at this all week, and I'm like, you know what? I can't even stand looking at this, even though we're going to talk about it a little bit more. So what did I do? Well, I did what any red-blooded American would, and I covered it up, and I put the Declaration of Independence on top of it. Because I like the Declaration of Independence. Do any of you? And it reminds me of a country called the United States of America. See, it says that right there. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. And part of me wants to say that, man, I miss that place. But maybe that's just me being sentimental, and maybe I'm kind of jealous because maybe I never knew her. Because groups like the ATF have been around for my whole life. Unless somebody was born in the very early 70s or prior. Some of you maybe not your whole life, but many of us, we've lived in supposedly the United States of America our whole life under the ATF. And I read the Bill of Rights. And I read the Second Amendment. And no matter how many times I keep reading the dang thing, it doesn't change. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't even need to read it anymore. I have it memorized, obviously, as should all of you. And I think about that. And then I'm sitting here all week looking at this stupid press release. And I'm thinking, wait a minute now. What type of clown world do I live in where we have the other side? You guys know I don't like labels. I'm not a fan of political parties. I reject the premise on almost all of this right now that's going on. This false paradigm that we live under. It's red versus blue. Yeah. Is it all this a game of checkers for these people? I don't really ask that rhetorically because I think it actually might be. And I'm sitting here thinking, the other side. You've got mayors against guns. You've got Everytown. You've got the Moms Demand. They demand many things, including action. Moms Demand Action, they call themselves. These are real beauties. You've got Brady Group. You've got Soros. You have all of these people that are against the Second Amendment, that are against America. And then I have to be reminded, not once a day, not twice a day, but no less than 10 times a day, about groups that are considered to be, or one might like to think are, on our side. And you sit here and you read about how the NSSF. Now, I'm being like extremely sarcastic when I say this for all of you listening. Here's the big air quotes. These are supposed to be our people. I mean, think about it. The firearms industry's largest trade association. They're calling for more funding of the ATF. They want you to call your congressman, call your senator and say, we demand more funding for the ATF. We want them to have immaculate servers, the most state-of-the-art servers is what they would like you to believe. What they're asking you to advocate for. That the ATF could keep more records of you, register more people faster. Do you guys hear that whistle in the background? I hear a whistle. Oh, it's the train coming to the train station. Free train rides. Free train rides to an unknown camp somewhere. I grew up in school in the 80s and in the 90s. And all we were warned about is don't take the free train ride. Don't take that free train ticket to an unknown camp somewhere. Now I sit here in the year 2026. Well, you know what? The more things change, the more they stay the same, don't they? I sit here in the year 2026 and it's like free registration. Free registration. Now, those that watch this channel know this, and a lot of you already inherently knew it on your own, but if anybody's new here, welcome. Good to have you here. Registration has always, and therefore will always lead to confiscation. So whereas the premise is registration of firearms has always led to confiscation, why, after living our whole lives in this country, this nation state, bunch of stupidity is what this really is getting to be. It's just getting to be stupid. I'm getting sick and tired of people. I'm getting sick and tired of a tyrannical government. And I'm getting sick and tired of all the retarded people in this country. I'm being a little bit blunt right now. But here's the deal. Free train ride. We were warned about our whole dang life, weren't we? The propaganda machine of the left. History written by the victors, whatever you want to call it. And we've also been warned our whole life that registration leads to confiscation. And now they've opened up the registry to free confiscation vouchers. Sign up, Johnny, for free to get your gun confiscated one day. Now, here's the thing. I'm not condemning you guys on an individual level. I know probably 90% of everybody watching has tax stamps and are probably in the process of applying right now. But aren't friends supposed to have tough talk with each other? I just want people to realize what's actually going on right now. Because the One Big Beautiful Bill did not remove key categories from the National Firearms Act. It kept all the registration provisions there. It kept the application process there. It kept the permission slips in most cases to cross state lines there. It kept the laws there that could hem you or your wife or your friend or your neighbor up into possibly becoming a felon very quickly. Meaning you do know that you can't just have a can that's registered in your name and just leave it on the end table and go to work for the day while other people could have possession of it. Even if they never touch it, it doesn't matter. In fact, the precedent for this has been it needs to be locked in a safe where they don't have access to it, actually. Now, there's ways to do trusts, and there's legal loopholes, and there's all these things. But just remember, does it matter if they're serving coffee or tea on that train ride to the camp somewhere? But does it matter if we fast forward to today's times, how shiny the object is, how nice it is? Because at the end of the day, the largest pre-gun confiscation scheme is here in the United States. Now, a lot of people were willing to pay $5 or in most cases $200 to put their lawfully owned property on a confiscation list. Now it's free to put it on a confiscation list. And it's anti-Second Amendment to have a National Firearms Act. And it's anti-Second Amendment to even have an ATF. And all of this, every last bit of this that we're in right now, is still 100% unconstitutional. Now, I expect the other side, as I said a minute ago, to always be after our guns. Look, they're never, ever going to stop. So either A, we tell them enough's enough, and we stop them. Cut it out. We're not playing your game anymore. Might be what we say. We might say many other things. Okay? Or we can sit back and they're going to take every last one. It's going to be one of the two because they're not going to stop on their own. That's the other side. Then there's our side. And here's the problem. I'm getting so darn confused anymore because our side, in my opinion, looks a lot like the other side. And let me be blatantly clear. The ATF makes claims about whether 4473s are a registry or not. With court documents that were uncovered, FOIA requests by the GOA. In my personal opinion, I'm 100% convinced that merely filling out a 4473 does end up being a de facto registry. I believe that to be true. However, on paper, there's a law that says that they can't keep the records for the background checks past the close of business. I don't believe what they tell us. I'm just telling you what the official narrative is. So there's some people out there like me that just don't trust the government. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, you hear conspiracy theory nowadays? Just wait till tomorrow and it's going to become a known fact, right? That's how things are now. This is the new normal. We're still in the COVID era, the era of the Kung flu. We've had a paradigm shift in this country many times. The most recent, about 5 or 6 years ago, actually. And there's been many, many others. But if you go with the official narrative to appeal to any of the normies out there, it's illegal for them to keep a registry of Title I firearms, is what they're called. These are your regular guns, if you want to put it in layman's terms. However, according to the official narrative, and this is where I'm not going to mince my words here because some people still don't get it yet. Any National Firearms Act item, any NFA item, whether the tax stamps $200 or whether it's free, is by its very nature in writing as a matter of law put on a registry. Now, I shouldn't have to say that, but I kind of do have to say it because I still do get quite a bit of pushback being like, dude, we ain't registering our firearms. We're just getting a tax stamp. No, you are literally, by the 100% definition of the word, registering your firearms. Now, I'm not telling you whether you should be scared they're going to kick your door down or not. You know, you could just kind of gloss over things like Waco, Texas, David Koresh, many innocent women and children. You can gloss right over that. That ain't going to happen to you. You can look at Randy Weaver and his family. And you could think to yourself, well, that ain't going to happen to me either. You could say, well, I'm a highly educated person and I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm on the up and up to AEDU. I ain't some broke you-know-what like you. I'm an accomplished businessman. Okay, great. So you could also then ignore Brian Malinowski, that was the executive of a very large airport, had a lot of money, had a nice house, was considered a person of high esteem. He was in the upper crust of his area. Well, You can ignore that too, how they gunned him down right there in the foyer of his house in the wee hours of the morning. You can ignore all of that. You can go all the way back and ignore Wounded Knee if you want to. The Battle of Wounded Knee. Sure, you can trust the government. Just ask an Indian. We can go on and on and on. Heck, he's out of prison now, which I'm very thankful for. You can ask Matt Hoover, otherwise known as the CRS Firearms Channel. You can ask him what happens to you if you have essentially a business card with an etching of a drawing of something on it, and you talk about it and do some promotion, for lack of a better word, in your YouTube videos. You could ask him about it too if you wanted to, but that probably won't happen to you either. And here's the thing, it probably won't happen to every single person. I get it. And trust me, I hope nothing bad happens to any of you. But no matter what your opinion on it is, whether it's going to happen to you or not, you are, by sheer definition that they admit to, that's provably so, everything on the NFA is registered actually in a federal registry. Now, so many people are wanting to register their property, register themselves, because here's the thing, you're not just registering the National Firearms Act firearm, you're registering yourself. Because the firearm bears a serial number. It has to have a certain set of amount of engravings on it, actually. But you're also giving forth your fingerprints, your photograph, your papers, your effects, your identification. So if you look at all of the criteria of what it takes to register a firearm on the NFA, and you actually go field by field through all of it, I think it'd be fair to argue you're registering yourself just as much, if not more, than you're actually registering the piece of metal, wood, polymer, what have you. And I'm just bringing up something that may be an unpopular view. I'm sure it's against the grain, but you know what? Nobody's really talking about it like this. You're registering the firearm and you're registering yourself. Now, I get it, man. If you live, if you breathe, if you eat, you're paying taxes. You're paying 35 times of taxes. You're taxed to no end with the jackboot of the government on your neck like crazy. You have to have a license to drive. You have to have insurance to drive. You have to have a license to carry in about half the states to carry a gun in this country. You have to be licensed to own a business. You have to be licensed to be involved in many different trades. License this, permission slip that. Yeah. Like I said, we've had a number of paradigm shifts in this country. And now it has become the new normal that everything has to be licensed and everything has to be registered. And the other side agrees that everything needs to be licensed, everything needs to be registered. That's what it means to live in a communist country. Of course, the other side that hates America wants that. But it's my opinion based on the fact that a group that's supposed to be on our side, they're highly frustrated that the ATF doesn't have enough funding to register people fast enough. And therefore, and I quote, NSSF strongly encourages all industry members to contact the U.S. representatives and U.S. senators to advocate for additional funding for ATF. I don't have the power of the NSSF. I don't have their money. In fact, I'm going to probably operate this stream as a net loss. The gas money it takes to drive here, the 3 gallons of diesel fuel I'm probably going to burn trying to get it somewhat warm in here, and it still barely hit 60. But for what it's worth, and I get it, my opinion ain't worth a plug nickel compared to the NSSF. To hell with them asking you to advocate for more funding for the ATF. If you wanted my opinion, I would encourage you to be advocating to abolish the ATF, get it gone, and abolish the National Firearms Act, and abolish the Gun Control Act of 1968, and abolish the Hughes Amendment of the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986. Real clean, real simple, abolish it, gone, break it into a million pieces, and scatter it all into the wind. Because I want to live in America where the supreme law of the land says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the country I want to live in. If these people want to live in another country, then to hell with them. They can go move there. They can get the heck out and don't come back. It's literally that blunt. Love it or leave it. Do you love America? Do you love the Declaration of Independence? Do you love the Bill of Rights? Do you love rule of law, meaning the Constitution of the United States of America? Great. Proud to be a fellow American with you if you don't like it. If you don't love it, then leave it and get the heck out. And that's where I'm at with all this. If you love the ATF and you want to advocate for more funding than the ATF, then in my opinion, you're antithetical to the Second Amendment. And the only reason you're even allowed to have all your gun companies and your industry in this country is because of the Second Amendment. Because guess what? You don't have groups as big as the NSSF in Britain. You don't have groups the size of the NSSF with gun industries in Somalia. You don't have something equivalent of the NSSF in Australia, do you now? So it's this weird thing that these industries get so big in this country. And they're able to sell all these guns and these accessories and all these different things because of the Second Amendment, but they advocate for funding to the ATF, which is antithetical to the Second Amendment and literally by the definition, the enemy. How do you even make this up? Now, what's reminding me of this, where I can't forget about it. Now, I told you guys the truth. I was sick and tired. I was sick and tired of reading this, seeing this NSSF member alert sitting here on my desk all week. So I did what any rational person would do. I covered it up with something that's a lot better. I covered it up with the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to put it back on there right now because I'm tired of seeing their letterhead. Now, my days and nights are turned around. I've been out plowing snow, salting, working in frigid temperatures, gale force winds. And I'm not too far from one of the Great Lakes, so gale is not really too far off on how I describe this. But at the same time, I can't forget about these people because all I'm hearing about all week long. And when I say all I'm hearing about, it's not once a day. It's not twice a day. Because see, I have a channel called 2A Edu, so I get all these different emails inviting me to stuff, promotions about stuff. I've been hearing about this SHOT Show 10 times a day. As it gets closer, it's getting cranked up to 15 to 20 times a day. I'm getting emails. I'm getting messages. I'm seeing videos. SHOT Show, SHOT Show, SHOT Show. I'm like, what? Oh, the same group that says to call my congressman and senator and advocate for more funding for the ATF? I don't understand. And maybe somebody can help me understand this. In the gun world, in the Second Amendment world, which is not necessarily the same thing. Many, many, many anti-Second Amendment people own guns. In fact, in my opinion, the firearms industry's largest trade organization is anti-Second Amendment because, and here's why I have that opinion, they advocate for more funding to the ATF, and the ATF is the Second Amendment's worst enemy. It's its worst nightmare. And I'm kind of old school like that. You know what I mean? If you fund my enemy, what's the difference between you and my enemy? But you know what? I didn't actually come up with that concept either, though, did I? No. I didn't come up with any of this. If you read the Constitution, it doesn't talk about crimes like murder and theft, does it? No, that was the states that would have all those types of laws. But there is a very specific, there's a very specific law, and actually the punishment's prescribed. The Constitution says a little something about aid and comfort for the enemy, doesn't it? So I've always kind of had that since I read the Constitution. I grew up wanting to be an American, saying you should never provide aid and comfort for the enemy. And if you're a Second Amendment supporter, And if you're like really into guns and want all kinds of guns and every single type, and you don't want to have neutered versions and infringed versions, and you don't want to have to register yourself and your property to be able to own something that you work like really hard for, and you're taxed to no end, and you still scrape enough money to buy something. If you don't want any of that, but there's an organization out there, there's a bureaucracy out there, an agency out there called the ATF. It's always making it a little bit harder to buy stuff that you actually want. That's criminalizing people. That's, let's just be blunt, been known to kill many women and children. And they exist. And you're a Second Amendment supporter. I don't know how you could come to any other conclusion that they are the enemy. And then when you have a group, an organization that's supposed to be one of us, and they're advocating to keep funding said enemy, we need more funding for the enemy. I think most of you, I hope anyways, if not all of you, understand my analogy, don't you? There's been many court victories. There's been many things under the Trump administration, which is way less worse than his first administration, almost infinitely less worse than the former Vice President Biden's administration. I understand all of that. But here's the problem. There's people out there saying, we want all your guns. We want more gun control every day. And then there's people out there saying, everything's great right now. We're living in like this utopia. Look at all the wins we're getting. We have a $0 tax stamp. Yeah, but here's the problem. There's a big lawsuit right now to just simply remove these items from the NFA since there's a $0 tax. Since many congressional members have written a letter saying what we really wanted to do is remove them from the NFA. Now, that's all smoke and mirrors and political rhetoric to get your vote, because you have to vote red or blue in this false paradigm, but they have put out the letter. But you have Bondi and her people under the Trump administration fighting to keep these items on the NFA. Now, is less worse less worse? Yes, it is, by sheer definition. I'm trying to be very objective about this. However, that ain't good enough for a guy like me. And for every person out there that's pushing, saying, we need to take every last gun, there needs to be somebody left like me saying, no, we need to repeal every last gun control law. Every single one. In a country where the supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed, it's not legal, not in my opinion, but in the founding fathers' opinion, to have any gun control laws, actually. Go back to the founding. Go back to 1789, 1791. Look at the gun control laws at that time. Go look at them. It's not a long list. It's not tens of thousands of gun control laws, regulations, CFRs, codes, ATF rules that have more force and effect in law than actual law. This is the fourth branch of government, the bureaucratic country, where they're not part of the standard checks and balances, actually. See, the three branches of government that they would like to tell you exist, those have checks and balances in and of themselves, but not the fourth branch. It does whatever the heck it wants. In fact, do you remember just a couple of years ago, I was on this channel reporting that the ATF made a rule, and in their rule, they said the courts weren't even allowed to have a hearing on their rule. They literally declared it so. They said, this is the new rule, and the courts aren't even allowed to opine on our rule. Well, that's clearly a fourth branch of government at that point that's completely unchecked and much more powerful than the traditional three branches of government that you were taught about in school. So I do want to go hardline on this, because while things are definitely less worse, and of course less worse is less worse, we need better than that. We live in a country still, we supposedly live in a country still that has a Second Amendment, and it just says shall not be infringed. So why is it? Maybe you guys can answer this for me. Why is everybody so excited this week? Well, now this isn't stuff that I'm hearing from my friends that are in Mom Demand Action. I don't have any friends that are in Mom's Demand Action, okay? I don't hang out with these people. I don't have any friends in the Brady group. Okay. But why is it all my friends? People that I know, people that are into guns. Why are they all so excited right now about a big industry show? And if you can answer that question for me, here's the second half of it. Why is everyone so excited about an industry show that's put on by an industry group that's calling for more ATF? It's a simple question. It's a profound question, but it's simple. Why? I'm clearly the odd duck here. I'm the odd man out. I understand that. Trust me, I do understand that too. The more I talk hardcore Second Amendment, the more I call out every one of these SOBs that are antithetical to it. This channel keeps getting smaller. When I reminded people about SHOT Show, I've seen about 15, 16 viewers leave in the last 2 minutes. I clearly have one of the most unpopular beliefs out there. About the only dang people that agree with me anymore is, the founding fathers of the United States that wrote shall not be infringed. What an effed up clown world you live in. Just think about this. I know a lot of you do actually agree with me. And you understand. That's why I'm saying I get it, man. The struggle's real right now. How are you a stranger in a strange land when you just want the dang constitution of your country to be enforced? How are you the most... Let me think of a way to word this here. How are you the reject of the gun community when you're pissed off that the largest industry organization, the largest show this year that everybody but me is excited about apparently, is calling for you to call your senator and your United States representative to advocate for additional funding for the ATF? You ever hear that saying, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't? You know, if I had this conversation with the other side, you know how bad I get lambasted? Tell you how bad I get lambasted. I get lambasted by the other side almost as much as I get lambasted by our side. Actually. Boy, 2A EDU. You're not afraid to tell people where the bear takes a, you know what. 2A EDU, although it's tough, you're willing to call out the largest firearms industry trade organization. Man, the other side must really be after you. No, actually, they're not. The other side doesn't like me. They don't agree with anything I say. But often, as I say about them, the other side actually does respect me this much. Because they're like, man, that guy's actually consistent with his views. This clown 2A EDU, because look, to them, the other side, the communists, I'm clown world. I'm the opposite of their communist utopia. But they actually do respect me this much. Because they're like, man, at least the dude's true to his convictions. At least when he gets on there and says, shall not be infringed, he's all about it. He's in for a penny, he's in for a pound. So when I talk to the other side, they're like, dude, we hate your guts, but we actually do like you a little bit. Now, not everybody, and not most of you that I see in the chat right here, but you know, most of the flack I get is from the gun community, from the pro-Second Amendment community. You know what? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? I figured this out long ago. with 100 million gun owners in this country, if all 100 million gun owners were true Second Amendment, ride or die, hardcore, we wouldn't have any gun control. And I used to say, well, that must mean about 50% of the gun owners in this country are just a bunch of fuds. I think I was real wrong on that. Probably about 99%, 99.9% of gun owners are just a bunch of fuds. Bunch of useless eaters just sitting there. But my Second Amendment says I can have a gun, so shoot, let's just, like, whatever. Having a hard time getting excited because, and here's the thing, guys, I like new products. I like innovation. I like simple machines. Firearms are very, very simple machines. I do like new guns. Like, I like them a lot. And I was rushed getting back here because I'm living and breathing snow right now. But I'm going to do a Locals and Rumble stream like literally in the next couple days here. So make sure you guys are following me there where we can show guns while we're live and all that. I just couldn't quite pull off the logistics of getting that ready tonight like I alluded to in my little video. But man, like, dude, I'm a gun guy as much as anybody is. And I know a lot of people in the industry, and I know a lot of people that own these different companies, and a lot of them are really good people. A lot of them are friends of mine. And they still are my friends. And it's like never this simple, but at the same time, why? Why, oh, why, oh, why are almost every last one of them members of a group that's advocating for more ATF? And although I am excited about, you know, different products, and I like guns, I like guns, I like guns, I like ammo, I like optic devices, I like lights. By the way, this light is like really, really sweet. I did a video, not many people watched it, but if you, I mean, this thing's like, wow. So like, look, I like this stuff. But every time I see an email, every time, dude, I keep getting, why haven't you RSVP'd yet to SHOT Show Media Influencer Range Day? Or are you going to come meet us at our booth at this time? 10 times a day. Hey, man, we'd like to see you at our booth here at this time. And here's the thing that sucks, man. Some of these people I know personally, dude, I love to hang out with you. I've hung out with a lot of these people before. It's a big club, and trust me, I ain't in it. But I will tell you, I'm in a weird situation. I ain't into clubs. I don't like political parties. There really ain't a place for a guy like me in this political sphere. But I have actually met a lot of these people. I've been around. I've traveled the country. I'm not allowed behind the curtain. You know what I'm saying? They don't let a guy like me behind the curtain, but I have been allowed to peel it back and look behind it a bit. Does that make sense? And the whole thing's complicated. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these people, man, they're really cool people. And you'll sit and talk Second Amendment with them, and they're like, shall not be infringed, brother. And they're this and that. But they're still members of this. And this is still asking for more ATF. I mean, it's like, dude, look, here's how I am with regular people. We can be friends. We can fight. Ask Mateo. He might be in the chat tonight. There's an example of one of my friends that you guys know. I like him a lot. We're good friends. We've had countless hours of good conversations. I've also said F you, mother effer, and I've told him a few things, and we both hung up on each other once or twice. Now, I wouldn't say it to his face because he's kind of a big dude. I don't think many people would say some of the, but he's in Kentucky, I'm in Michigan, so I've talked him smack on the phone. Dude, we're still friends. Okay? We're still good friends. Just like everybody in the gun industry doesn't have to do everything exactly the way I would do it, and we can still be friends. But there's certain things, right? Like in a real life friendship, dude, we can disagree. We can punch each other in the eye. We can beat each other up. We can verbally say this and that. And we can still be friends, but you ain't allowed to F my old lady. Anyone gets near my wife, we ain't going to be friends anymore. And guess what? They probably ain't going to be much of anything anymore. There's just always a line somewhere, right? Where you're like, dude, we can disagree, we can fight. But if you do this, no, we ain't going to be friends anymore. You guys agree, right? There's always that line somewhere. And where, I don't know where this is, but it's like, man, alive. Like, trust me, dude, my friends that are going out getting free tax stamps, that's not my line in the sand where I can't be friends with them anymore. And that does not apply to any of you, anybody I know in real life. Trust me, you're out there getting tax stamps, you've purchased tax stamps, we can still be friends. I'm not sanctimonious. I'm not judging you. Okay? Look. But I think this is where I'm having such a hard time all week. And I think my line in the sand is, if somebody's advocating for more ATF, it's really hard. And I'm trying, man. I'm trying, but I don't know if I can be friends anymore. Does that make sense? Like, everybody doesn't need to get on there every week and say the same stuff I say. Everybody doesn't need to be as hardcore Second Amendment as me. I understand that. But it's really, really hard, man. It's getting to be like a chasm that's hard for me to cross, to be like, yeah, but to advocate for us to ask our U.S. senators and representatives for additional funding for the ATF, man, I don't know if I can swim across that river. I don't know if I can cross the Rubicon on that. Does that make sense? And nothing's ever this simple. Like, hey, buddy, you going to meet me at SHOT Show? Like, that's coming from somebody who is a buddy of mine. People I've talked to on the phone, people who I've met with in real life. And they're like good dudes and stuff, but I don't know, man. I'm not going as far right now as to condemn every single person that's going to SHOT Show as my enemy. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misconstrue if I'm not explaining it properly. But I can't get excited about SHOT Show. And I can't say that SHOT Show is like cool when NSSF, who runs SHOT Show, is blatantly in their own press release. This is off of their website, advocating, asking us to advocate the Congress for more funding for the ATF. I don't think I can do it. I'm going to read a couple chats here real quick. And I kind of got going for 43 minutes, and I didn't forget to. I was just kind of been in the zone of thinking about all this all week. But I do want to pause real quick to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to all my YouTube channel members. I see you guys in the chat right now. You guys, look, anyone who's supporting me, you guys are my sponsors. I don't have any lobbyists that are funding this channel. In fact, I'm calling out, I think, the largest gun industry lobbyists in the whole country right now. So thank you to all my YouTube channel members. Thanks for all of you who support on Patreon, as well as locals. Make sure you're following me there. That's a different site, censorship free. As well as I have Cash App down there in the description. And anyone who leaves a super chat, which I do see I've got one tonight that I'm going to read in 1 second. You guys are the show sponsors. And by the way, if you guys are sick of taxes, which I am, there's no tax on tips. And I'm not giving any financial advice, not an accountant, but my studies have concluded that any super chats, Cash App donations, those are tips and are not subject to federal tax for certain purposes. Again, no, I'm not an accountant, no tax advice. But in my opinion, yes, there's a clear code in the new tax law that does talk about streamers and super chats very specifically. So no tax for me on super chats. And no tax on Cash App or any tips like that, including the state of Michigan starting January 1st of this year. I'm in Ready Citizen says, if they're your real friends, I think they would understand where you're coming from. I think so too, and I also hope so. Because, look, man, you might own tax stamps, okay? I have no idea if you do or not. But let's just assume for argument's sake you do. Dude, no hard feelings, man. Like, you invite me over to your house, and you're like, dude, you want to try out my new can? Like, I'll shoot it with you. We'll hang out. And that's just because I am not sanctimonious at all. And I do believe what the Bible says. And I do believe where the Bible says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I ain't judging anybody's soul. I'm scared to do that, actually. So trust me, I'm not judging anybody to kingdom come. I'm also on earth here not telling you that, like, dude, you're a traitor if you have a tax stamp. And here's why. Because you're an adult, you're going to make your own decisions. And there are people out there, and I think that's maybe a lot of you that are watching right now. And shout out to the replay crew, by the way, if you're watching on replay, where you're like, dude, I'm against the NFA as much as you are, but I don't trust my government. I believe what the founding fathers said when they said that, yeah, like the Second Amendment was put in place to protect us from a tyrannical government. It wasn't about hunting. It wasn't about sports. And you're like, dude, I just don't trust my government. And these are just games I have to play. And I want to be well armed when the you-know-what hits the fan. And you're basically like, dude, I'm willing to sacrifice this little battle to win the war. And people have all their reasons. I may not agree with all those reasons necessarily, but I understand that well thought out people, that's heart's in the right place, they have their reasons. So I'm not condemning the individual tax stamp holder right now. But I am going to ask all of you that if you're advocating for anything, no matter how many tax stamps you own, or if you own none at all, we still need to keep advocating for these items need removed from the NFA. That's where we start. There's a lawsuit asking for just that. If we can get that victory, then we go to, now let's get rid of the NFA altogether. Let's abolish the ATF. Gun Control Act of 68. Hughes Amendment of the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 86. Now, there's over 30,000. I'm not going to name them all here, but that gives you guys a little outline. Like, let's just start off with, and look, that brings me to my next point. Some of you out there are like, dude, I'm going to get the free tax stamp. I don't agree with tax stamps, but I believe we're going to win in court. And when we win in court, these are going to be removed from the NFA. So look, we can still be fighting the same fight so long as we agree on one thing. We are not to be advocating for additional funding for the ATF. Again, that's the Rubicon for me. Go look in a history book if you want to know that reference. I think most of you know it. No, I ain't crossing. That's the Rubicon. I am not going to advocate for any more funding for the ATF. And I hope all of you that have tax stamps, and please, if you don't mind, if you have tax stamps, if you're getting free tax stamps, will you please leave me a chat or leave me a comment on replay and let me know? Like, you still want to, like, not fund the NFA, right? Like, you want to get rid of the ATF? Like, is that cool? Like you might be getting 10 free tax stamps right now, but do you still want to get rid of the ATF? Just let me know. I want to know where people are at, because I think, and that's why I'm not judging people at all that are getting free tax stamps. I think there is a lot of people out there getting tax stamps that also still want to abolish the ATF, that still want to first remove these items from the NFA. Then when we get that victory, now we go after the rest of the NFA. Then we get that victory, we go after the Gun Control Act, 1986 Hughes Amendment, constitutional carry. There's a whole list of things. And you do have to do them like one thing at a time. You can kind of go concurrently because this is a big country, but we do have to just keep going in order. Just boom, 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 boom. So here's the deal, man. If you're with me on that, dude, we're in the same fight with each other. We're friends. We're good. Like, we're doing this. I just can't get excited about SHOT Show because they're advocating for more ATF funding. Okay? I can't get excited about being friends with just any Tom, Dick, or Harry on the street that's walking around advocating for more ATF funding. Does that make sense? Now, I've had a few friends that have told me, dude, what I'm doing is a big middle finger to the man. And they actually brought up a good point where I'm like, dude, actually, there is a little there to it. And I'm thinking about that concept. I really am. They're like, dude, I'm loading up with all the free tax stamps I can because, like, they're not getting one penny from me. I'm putting unnecessary workload and burden on these people. Yeah, there's some there. I do actually understand where people are heading with that. Like, there's some strategy. Okay. But that's totally different, right? Than being like, dude, I'm kind of sticking it to the man. Like, are they really sticking it to the man? Obviously not. Are any of us really? I guess not. I can't say what I want to on here because I'm on YouTube, right? If there are tons of people running around just doing their own thing and not telling anyone about it, well, guess what? They're not telling anyone about it. But you guys know what I'm getting at. But at the same time, I guess, maybe you are sticking it to the man a little bit or something. Look, everyone has little different opinions on this. But where my line in the sand is right now is ain't no friend of mine going to be advocating for more ATF funding. It's just tough. And that's why I just can't get excited about this SHOT Show. That's why I'm not going to this SHOT Show. And it's not just a matter of like, oh, ho hum, I can't afford to go anyways, which may or may not be true. I basically figured out I'd be able to barely squeeze out going to one event this year, probably. So if I really prioritize, I could have probably gone to SHOT Show. But there wasn't even a consideration, man. This ain't the first time, in my opinion, they pulled BS either. This isn't nearly the first time this organization's pulled some BS. But when I saw this, I said, hell no, I won't go. Like, period. I ain't going to be in there. No aid or comfort to the enemy. That's what the Constitution says. Now, that's under a little different context than NSSF. But is it really, though? I ain't going to support somebody that wants more ATF funding, period. End of story. And it is true, man. You do find out who your friends are, don't you? Fun to Learn, a channel member and a super chat. Thank you, Fun to Learn. Thank you for that no tax on tips, a super chat. Look, I can't stand taxes either. Trust me. He says, in your opinion, what was more harmful for the 2A? GOA claiming the victory for the $0 tax or the fundraising by the NSSF for the ATF? All right. The NSSF is more harmful, clearly, in my opinion. Because they're literally saying, call your senator, call your congressman, and ask for more ATF funding. And when I hear more ATF funding, it just makes me cringe. It makes me feel icky. Like, I want to jump in a snow bank to clean myself off just thinking about how dirty that is. And I do not want to jump into a snow bank because I've been freezing cold a lot lately. It's about to get a whole lot worse with the temperatures dropping in the single digits shortly here, and actually in the negative degrees coming up next week. So that's how much I don't want to jump into a snowbank. But I would to get the filth and scum off of me of anybody advocating for more ATF. Now, what's interesting about the GOA claiming victory for the $0 tax stamp is this. I called it out, all right? And you don't want to know what's crazy? Actually, someone who I do believe is a good friend of mine. He has a YouTube channel, and he's actually been on this show before. He works for him. He heard me call him out publicly. We had a phone call where I was calling out. And he's like, look, dude, it is what it is. Like, reasonable minds can differ on it. We've talked about 100 other things since then, and we just had a 45-minute phone call the other day. So there you go. This proves that you can, and I don't even know if we completely disagree on all of it. That's not even my point. I'm just saying, like, a friend of mine that works there has heard me rant and rave about I didn't like how they declared that victory with the $0 tax stamp. We're still cool as heck with each other. All right. So that can happen. I think what it is look, everything can't happen overnight. And I do understand that. And they are part of lawsuits to remove these items from the NFA. So their goal is to get them removed. So it's not that I give them a pass on their messaging saying $0 tax stamp was a victory. I didn't like the messaging. In my opinion, which isn't worth much of anything, I thought that was a strategical error, just the way things were worded. However, the GOA is different because they are actually still fighting the good fight, meaning they are actively trying to get these items removed from the NFA. So they are still trying to get the result that me and you wanted, right? They've not offered aid and comfort to the other side. So hopefully that explains it. And that is a good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. But to me, there's almost an infinite difference between the two scenarios, because in one instance, this one group's calling for more ATF funding. On the other hand, yes, they declared something a victory that I did not consider a victory, but they are fighting still right now in court. And they've been known to be effective at that in the past. So let's keep that in mind. This is somebody with the actual means to be able to do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And they're actually getting somewhere with it. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful that we, meaning we the people, will be victorious in these lawsuits and get all these items removed from the NFA, because the NFA is garbage. And the NFA shouldn't exist. So again, thank you for that thought-provoking question there that I do definitely agree with. I saw my friend Ron Maddie in the chat earlier tonight here. Are you still watching, Ron? What's happening, man? Shout out to Ron and my favorite Michigan State Representative, Jamie Thompson. And here's the thing, man. Like, geez, look at Jamie. We need to get Jamie back on as a guest again. What do you guys think? Now, I'm not going to speak for her. She does a lot of speeches. There's a lot of people who like to have her on the show, but I might have a little bit of an inside. Maybe I could get her on again. What do you guys think? But man, I think of my state representative, Jamie Thompson, fighting for the 2A like crazy. And look, I told you guys this when it happened, but when it comes to repealing the red flag laws, which somebody's asking about right now in Michigan, you still need to be getting a hold of all your Michigan Republican legislators. We need a second committee hearing. We need it to be passed favorably through committee. Hey, call Chair Sarah Leitner, because I didn't think this was going to happen, man. And say, thank you for holding the previous hearing. It was very productive. Excellent conversations were had. Now, we respectfully ask to put this forward to a floor vote to get this Representative Jim DeSantis red flag repeal laws. Let's get those out of committee. Let's get them to a House floor vote. And if your state representative's Jamie Thompson, you need to be, and I hope you guys have already been doing this, but you need to be calling her office and writing her and say, thank you for showing up to that hearing. Because Jamie, you didn't have to be there. She doesn't sit on that committee, okay? If you sit on the committee, like, you have to be there per se to do your job. She's not on the committee. She was there for us in the audience. And that means a lot. Because when Jamie Thompson's standing there, that's 90,000 people standing there in Michigan's 28th district. If your state representative is Angela Regas, I saw her sitting there in the crowd at that hearing. She also didn't need to be there because she's not on the Judiciary Committee. When the committee members saw Michigan Representative Angela Regas sitting there, they said that's 90,000 people sitting there from the Caledonia, Michigan area. So look, guys, there's a lot of crap going on. And there's a lot of people out there that are supposed to be on our side that aren't on our side. And it sucks. But there are some people that are on our side. And it would be a shame if we have people in there fighting like a dog for us. And look, this is very, very rare nowadays. I want all of you, no matter what states you live in, to look on the local level. I'm going to know more about Michigan, okay? I know more about my favorite representative, Jamie Thompson, because she's my representative. But you guys all need to know as much about the voting record and how they're advocating for the Second Amendment. You all need to know as much about your state rep as I know about Jamie's voting record for the Second Amendment. And how do I know that she was at that hearing? Because I was watching the stream looking for her to be there, hoping she'd be there, and she didn't let me down. Now, you're going to find people on your state level and maybe a couple in Washington, D.C. that are going to be fighters for the Second Amendment. But I'll tell you what, man, it's a dogfight. The other side's always going to be against them no matter what, and half the time their own side's against them. So as much as we sit and complain about things, which we do need to complain about things, if you have something that you need to be optimistic about, you need to be optimistic about it too. And you need to get in there. And you need to call out all the traitors on the other side, all the traitors that are within. And that's easy to do. And due to human nature, it almost seems a little more fun. But if somebody's actually in there and does have your back, and they are actually fighting for you, you need to have their back. And you need to get in there and say, yeah, we'll fill in the ranks right behind you. We sent you to Lansing, Michigan, Representative Thompson, so you would fight for the Second Amendment. Now, many people sent her there for many reasons. That's why I voted for her. I'm a single issue voter. The Second Amendment's the most important issue to me. So that's why I'm on this live stream right now, sitting in my shop saying, if you have a good one, if they're fighting for the two-way, trust me, the other side's going to beat them up for it. The other side's going to do everything they can to try to get their opponent to win the next election, to do whatever. Well, if that's your issue and you feel staunch about it, and the person that you elected to serve you, to represent you, is actually doing what you asked, you better at least tell them thank you. You better at least talk to people around town and tell them, hey, this one's a fighter. This one's doing what they're supposed to do. Does that make sense? So, whereas I'm going to call out the GOA when they had some bad messaging, in my opinion, on something, they are in court right now. They are fighting to remove these items from the NFA. So, whereas I am going to call them out on the one thing I didn't agree with them on, I am going to stand behind them in doing the one thing that I do demand they do. And they are in court, and they are fighting right now. No problem, fun to learn. What's happening, Drew, in Oregon? There he is. There's Ron. How you doing, man? The famous, we're going to say famous. The other side says the infamous. Boy, you should see this guy online. There he is. There's the real Ronald Maddie. He's kind of two different things. There's like real Ronald Maddie, then there's Ronald Maddie the persona. It's actually the same person. He's not fake at all. He's just kind of like that. You know that lore that people talk about, like in the middle of the night, you don't know where he's at. He's politically like that. Like he's in the heads of all these leftists where they're like, where is he? Where's the you go follow him around over on Facebook and stuff, and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's great, man. Love you, Ron. Marco Polo, wow. Channel member for 45 months with the member super chat. He says, there seems to be no solidarity in the two-way world. I know, man, and I want there to be more. And that's why I'm just like, dude, look, we can argue about all these things. If all of us tonight, no matter how many tax stamps you own or don't own, can we just agree that we don't want to fund the ATF more? You know what I'm saying, Marco? It's like, I know me and you agree on that. And by the way, our friend Marco lives in Virginia. Have you guys seen what's going on in Virginia? Whoa. Wow. Like, it's just a nightmare, okay? Do you guys remember the gavel lady in the last session? In the Michigan House of Representatives, passing gun control in the middle of the night? You guys remember those streams? No, it was literally like this dysphoria, this dysphoric nightmare. There was a lady. Some people call her a lady. See, I'm being polite tonight. See how much of a good mood I'm in? Some people even have been known to call her a lady. Her name's Lori Pohutsky. She used to hold the gavel. Now my friend Rochelle Smith, who's like a really, really staunch 2A supporter, make sure you're calling Rochelle Smith's office and encouraging her for the Second Amendment, by the way. But before there was Rochelle Smith, who is my friend, Speaker Pro Tem Smith, we have this lovely lady named Lori Pohutsky. Do you guys remember? Does anyone remember? See, here's the problem with her. Seems to be a nice enough young lady, right? Remember her fashion statement? She'd get up there wearing a burlap bag, just scoring on her face, just Abraham Ayash, I move for immediate effect. We can't forget about this, guys. There's elections coming up here in Michigan. Don't forget about this. Do you want to have this replay in your head in Michigan? Majority Leader Abraham Ayash, a move for me effect. Her name was Lori Pohutsky. Do you remember her, Marco? People all across the country know her. She's quite famous. She's wearing this burlap sack. What's up with these people's fashion statement? It's like, geez, oh, Pete's. But she's up there, just, she's growling and she's snarling. And now here's the thing, Marco. I could actually probably be friends with someone like her before I could hang out with some of the people running Virginia right now. It's true. It's true. And here's the thing. I could never hang out with and would never be friends with Lori Pohutsky at all. So, like, that's how bad Virginia is right now. So I wish you well. And, dude, it can't be a good stream without a brief Lori Pohutsky story. Do you guys want her back up there with that gavel? Somebody just said yes, actually. They said, wow, to AEDU. That was so rude of you. Her fashion statement was impeccable. Hey, whatever, man. I'm being polite. I called her a lady, didn't I? I mean, I'm trying to keep this a family friendly. She was the first openly gay Michigan rep. I wonder what her husband has to say. I don't know about any of these people. Trust me. I called her a lady. Maybe that was a put down. Maybe not. I have no idea. Oh, I think Lori Pohutsky just sent me a text message. No, she didn't. Me and her don't talk. Okay. Mike Hammond, channel member for 10 months. What's happening, Mike? How you doing? How you doing, man? He says, are there any updates on the red flag law repeal? That's what I'm talking about, dude. Here's the thing, man. And look, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be polite. But anyone that lives in Michigan, tell all your friends. Do you guys remember that scorned woman up there in the middle of the night? Do you want that again or not? I'm just saying, man. Do you want that? I mean, here's the difference. Look at the red flag repeal hearing. Nobody pressured Chair Sarah Lightner more than me. That's what we need to do. That's what we're supposed to do. As Second Amendment advocates, if there's a Republican ahead of a committee, we need to advocate like crazy for them to move forward Representative Jim DeSantis' red flag repeal. Okay? Period. There's no hard feelings between me and Chair Lightner. We're just going to have hard feelings on the Second Amendment if she doesn't hold hearings. Well, she did hold a hearing on red flag repeal. I'm being very optimistic. I'm getting a little impatient. I'd like her to speed it up. You know, hey, you got to demand what you want here, guys. I'm a little impatient. I want her to speed things up, but I think she's going to do the right thing and move forward Representative Jim DeSantis' red flag repeal. We did a live stream here on that red flag repeal hearing, Mike. Pay attention, guys, in Michigan. Kelly Breen was there. She now sits in the minority. Do you remember when it was Chairman Kelly Breen? The one that rushed through the red flag laws through that same Judiciary Committee a couple years ago. We had the foremost expert on gun crime statistics in the whole country, Dr. John Lott, came from all the way across the country to testify. She was rude. She cut him off. She cut him short. In my opinion, it was very, very embarrassing being a Michiganian, watching such a distinguished guest to travel across the country to speak for a few minutes, to be treated with such disrespect. It's going to come down to this close. And yeah, my fingers are almost touching each other. Whether it's Chairman Breen of the Judiciary Committee next year, whether it's Lori Pohutsky back up there with that gavel again. I mean, it's closer than you guys even want to know it is. In fact, I've got some friends being optimistic, saying we can do it. And I've got other friends saying, dude, there's a good chance Lori Pohutsky is going to be holding that gavel again. Let me tell you what, I don't think I'd have to be going too far to make an educated guess that she would love to pass all of the gun control laws, that she was going to gavel through in 2 seconds flat with that scorn, hateful look on her face. Except for at the very end, it was a Hail Mary. It was nothing short of a miracle. Every single Republican House member, every Republican representative walked out in the 11th hour in the waning days of the session and one sole Democrat, Karen Whitsett. Now, I respect Karen Whitsett a lot insofar as she actually has a mind of her own. And if she has some kind of political thing going on behind the scenes, she will stand for what she stands for. Now, she's not a Second Amendment supporter. I don't agree with Karen Whitsett on really much of anything policy related. However, she had her own axe to grind and refused to come into the floor. Do you guys remember this? We have to remember this. Don't forget about this. Every single Michigan House Republican representative walked off the floor. They failed to achieve a quorum. There was a stack of gun control bills this thick. In my opinion, Representative Lori Pohutsky, at that time the Speaker Pro Tem, the gavel lady, the whatever with the gavel. I'm trying to be very polite tonight. I'm in such a good mood, if you can't tell. See, I'm in a good mood. The whatever with the gavel. Some people even call her Lori Pohutsky. I could just see, in my opinion, the anger on her face because she wanted to pass gun control bills about that thick. And those would be law right now. Don't forget about that, Mike. So, if anyone is in that district, pay attention because I've heard some people from the other side and they're like, yeah, we're really, really trying to get Lori Pohutsky back with that gavel again. And we're really trying to get all of those gun control bills that didn't pass to become law. So there you go. And here's the thing, guys. This is coming from someone that's just trying to give you the objective truth. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. It's so funny because people who don't know me well, when I'm like, dude, I'm not even a Republican, they're like, oh my gosh, so you must be a Democrat? No, I'm not a Democrat. And then there's the people that say stuff like, well, you must be a libertarian. A lot of my friends are. No, I'm not a member. I don't like political parties. I'm actually a lot like George Washington, actually. Has anyone read George Washington's farewell address? I was actually there live. I watched him do it in real life. But George Washington got frustrated with political parties. Look, I get it, guys. I am frustrated. But here's the thing. When I was talking about Representative Jamie Thompson, she happens to be a Republican. So here's the deal. I'm not a Republican, but a lot of friends of mine do happen to be Republicans. If you know what I'm saying, right? And we have a two-party system, and it's basically like the Republican or Democrats going to win. So there's lots of Republicans out there that don't agree with much of the Republican Party. I get it. But she was there at the red flag repeal hearing. That meant a lot to me. She's a Republican. Angela Regas was there. That meant a lot to me that she was there in the audience. She's a Republican. The Republican majority in the House Judiciary Committee scheduled that hearing. So there you go. So there are going to be some Republicans that are going to stand for the Second Amendment. We've had 0 Democrats in Michigan stand for the Second Amendment at all. Not even once. Not in a long, long time. It's been a decade or more since I've seen a Democrat in the Michigan legislature actually vote for something pro 2A. And even then it was like once. And before that it had been decades. It's kind of crazy. Burlap dress lady. Oh, you guys do remember her. Wow. Okay. Yeah, don't forget about her, Dale. What's happening, Dale? How you doing, man? Thanks for being a channel member. There you go, burlap dress lady. No, she literally wore a burlap sack in one day. I mean, we're trying to be nice, but it's like, friends of Jamie Thompson. Well, there you go. I'm friends with Jamie Thompson too. Says, oh, I remember her. See, I told you. Wow, some people do actually remember. Wafagoe, Sarah's your rep. Sarah Leitner. Okay, dude, you're like mega important. Because like I've already called my rep Jamie Thompson on this like 100 times. She doesn't even sit on the committee. But see, for Jamie to vote to repeal red flag laws, we need to get it out of the committee and to the House floor. Okay. Now, Jamie was at the committee hearing, which meant a lot to me, by the way. Thank you, Jamie. But Sarah Leitner's your rep. Please call her office and say, thank you, Representative, for holding that hearing for Rep. DeSantis' red flag repeal. Please hold another one so we can get it voted favorably out of committee. So if you can help us out by doing that, that would be awesome. Because I've also called Sarah Leitner's office, and everybody can call her office because she is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. When you call, say, look, I'm not a constituent, but I'm calling in her capacity as the Judiciary Chair. That's what all the rest of you need to do. Now, Wafagoe, no, that's your rep. So you call your representative and say, you'll probably get a hold of the staff and say, I'd like to leave a message for my representative. Make sure you word it that way. Say, my representative, Sarah Leitner, and say, thank you for holding the committee hearing for Rep. DeSantis red flag repeal. We're eagerly awaiting your next hearing to pass this favorably to the House floor. And then I get to call my state representative, Jamie Thompson, again and be like, Representative, it's scheduled for a floor vote. I eagerly await you voting for it. That's how this works. We all need to be part of this process, at least on our state levels. Yes, sir. You said Michigander. I like to say Michiganian, okay? Like, here's the thing, man. We can argue, though. That's cool. Like, we can definitely argue about Michigander versus Michiganian. We can still be friends, like 100%. If you're saying Michigander and you're advocating for more funding of the ATF, I don't think you're going to do that, man. So I think we're good. I'm pretty sure we're good, right? All right. Friends of Jamie Thompson. I know it doesn't feel like it, guys, but keep the fire going. We are not the Republicans that were there when Republicans held all three chambers. We came for a reason, and we took back the House. So there you guys go. And here's the deal, guys. I don't like the political parties either. There's been too much of this stuffy status quo, lesser of two evils, whatever. I would note when it comes to, and I say this in a good way, there are a lot more hellraisers right now in the Michigan Republican-controlled House than I can ever remember seeing before, actually. There are some people out there that are really, fighting for certain issues, and there's quite a few fighting for the Second Amendment. So I will agree with you on that. And I voted how many times now? I'd like to say I voted 50 times. No, I can't vote for Jamie 50 times. I'm not a Democrat, okay? Jeez, oh, Pete. I mean, they're very popular amongst the cemeteries and all that with many Democrat big cities. But no, I vote for Jamie, and she's on the Republican ticket. I'm not a Republican. So if you guys are into the Second Amendment, and I know that's why you guys watch this, look at what your representatives are doing for the Second Amendment and go cast your vote accordingly. Don't let political parties get in the way of not going out to vote if somebody's advocating for the 2A. That would be my advice to anybody. Oh, geez, fun to learn. I cannot imagine Michigan under Jocelyn Benson and Lori Pohutsky. Lord help us all. I know. Here's the thing, and this is just a rumor. I can't prove it, but a buddy of mine, they said they saw Lori Pohutsky up at the department store. Yeah. She was up at the local J.C. Penney's, and they said, dude, I think I saw her trying on a new burlap bag. That can only mean one thing. If that story's true, I don't know if it's true. This is just what my people are telling me, but somebody said, yeah, dude, she's going shopping. It looks like she was making her move on buying another burlap sack. I think she's trying to get that gavel back in her hands again. Like, I really do. Wow. Her antics. Have you seen this person, Fun to Learn? The type of press releases she puts out? Have you seen how nasty she is to the Second Amendment? Like, wow. I mean, it's just, I'm getting nervous, okay? I hope it's not true, but I did hear that she might be out there buying burlap sacks again. And that usually only means one thing with somebody like her. Paul Bennett, channel member Paul Bennett, thanks for the support, man. What's happening, dude? He says, love the stream. Well, thank you. Thank you. This is my off night tonight because I was too busy plowing, but I want to hang out with you guys a few more minutes and read the chat, and then I'll probably go out there and freeze to death again. Oh, dude, Virginia, man. Oh, it's getting terrible out there. Wow. Does anyone know who Jocelyn Benson is? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that as the governor? Whoa. I'm going to have to say Whitmer wasn't so bad anymore if she gets... No, I'm not going to say that, but is it possible? I think Benson could even be a worse governor than Whitmer. Like, I literally think so. Wafago, he says, I bet you find yourself voting for a Republican like me. Yeah, I voted for Jamie Thompson. She's a Republican in the Michigan House of Representatives. I also vote for my senator, who's also a Republican, Joe Bellino. If you guys remember, it's been a few months ago, I put out a video showing Joe Bellino with a barn-burning pro-Second Amendment speech. So yeah, there you go. I am blessed, and I don't take it for granted, but I have very pro-Second Amendment State Rep Thompson and State Senator Bellino. And yeah, they're both Republicans. So yeah, there you go. But I'll tell you what, man, if I just had some empty suit in there or some burlap sack dress in there, whatever, you know, and they had an R behind their name and they were not voting for the Second Amendment. And here's the thing, voting for the Second Amendment, that's just status quo. Okay. All Republicans run on being pro 2A. That's what's expected. But I need even more than that out of my state rep and senator. I need them to be advocating for the Second Amendment. I need them willing to go out and talk about it. I need them to be willing to rally the troops, meaning their own colleagues. I need them to be getting vocal in the caucus room. Okay. That's what I demand because I'm like that hardcore 2A. I'm lucky that I do have that in my state representative and senator both. They've both very publicly talked about their support and advocacy for the Second Amendment many, many times. So yes, I'm voting for those Republicans because they're doing what I want. I want them to be pro Second Amendment. I want them to fight for the Second Amendment, and they are. If I had a Republican, though, that was just like, ho-hum, let me vote for a little gun control, they wouldn't get my vote. You know, primaries matter, and then you don't end up with the lesser of two evils, right? But I'll tell you what about your representative, Chair Leitner. Make sure you're calling her and thanking her for holding that hearing. That meant a lot to a lot of us. And telling her how excited you are that you can say, I'm sure you're going to hold more hearings, right? Or you can just say, hey, you better hold more hearings, however you want to say it. Now, here's the thing. And we've done whole streams on this, guys. Whole videos. Just go right back to my channel. It's not that long ago. I laid out a roadmap for all of you, all the phone numbers in the description. And I told you all a few weeks ago, don't let this die over Christmas and New Year's break. Okay? They're all going back to work now. So, like Ron's saying, what happens in one district affects the rest of the state. Contact the committee members, your state reps, then other reps. Keep the pressure on. Yes, keep the pressure on. So how about this? Everybody that called and all of you listening on replay, please share this stream with your friends. All of that. All of you watching live. Yeah, let's all give all those committee members another call here in the next couple of days. Does that sound like a plan? I think we need to do that again because there's some good people on the committee, some pro Second Amendment fighters on that committee, and yeah, let's put some positive pressure on these people and keep the ball, because like I said earlier, man, and I was being brutally honest with all of you. Like, thank you, Chair Sarah Leitner, for holding the hearing. We demand a second hearing, though, and I'm getting a little impatient for that, too. So, we'll give her a little more time, but not a lot more time. She needs to, so that's what pressure is called. Thank you very much, Representative. Now, when's the next hearing? That's what you do. We have WH07-K9B under his ultra secret call sign. What's happening, man? How you doing? Don't even give me that crap on how warm it is down there, man. I started off this stream saying anybody in the deep south, don't even tell me that it's 50 degrees. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. No, man. Shout out to my southern friends, man. I kind of want to move down south right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to go like way down south. You know what I really want to do though? I want to be the guy that just pisses everyone off. Is that fair? Are we late enough in the stream? I just want to be that guy to piss everyone off. I want to be like, I want to ride both sides of the fence. Let's just be honest. I want to move down south like all winter. And then as soon as like April hits, move back up north. And then as soon as November hits, move back south. Just flip flop, ride both sides of the fence. I'll claim to be a Southern boy 50% of the time. Then I'll claim to be a Yankee 50% of the time. No, I ain't moving to New York. I'm not going to be a Yankee, but you guys know what I'm getting at. I just want both. I want the deep south like right now. I do not like 100-degree temperatures either, though. So I'll basically come north. That's what I'm going to do. And everyone just hates that guy, right? I'm just being that kind of guy. I just want the best of both worlds. I want to be like super wishy-washy. When I'm down there, I'll be like ripping on everyone that lives in the north and saying, sucks to be you with all that snow, you know. And then in the summertime, I'll be back up here and I'll be ripping on old WH. What's happening, Jeremy? How you doing? And I'll be ripping on him saying, sucks to be 100 degrees down there, sucker. Like, I just want to be that guy. Now, if I can figure out how to afford all that. If I could afford it, I would, though. Come on, guys, just admit it, wouldn't you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Just rip on both and be like, sucks that you're so hot. And then I'll move real quick. Sucks that you're so cold. It's tough, man, with this weather. But, man, it's just too cold up here right now. I've been outside way too much lately. Oh, Colin, he says, how screwed will we be if Jocelyn becomes governor? I don't know her. Now, look, I have to be careful because these people all have their attorneys and whatever, but it's been alleged by people. In my opinion, it's been alleged by people that she was breaking campaign laws right out of the rip, like filming campaign videos like on Michigan Capitol property and just, I mean, oh gosh, I could go on and on and on. I saw a picture that looked like, in my opinion, she was posing with Antifa. I mean, this is the one that tried to ban guns from all polling stations unilaterally. Jocelyn Benson, as Secretary of State, tried to unilaterally ban guns from all polling places, disenfranchising gun owners, Second Amendment supporters, trying to make it where we wouldn't show up to the polls. She was overruled by a judge at the last second on that, but that's one thing about Jocelyn Benson, don't forget. She's been after guns every single way she's been able to as Secretary of State. Now, if you had about 8 hours, we could just start to talk about her, but there's just a couple things for you to think about. Barbecue King, what's happening, man? How you doing? He says Matt Hall needs to step it up. I completely agree. Matt Hall messed up. He voted for gun control. I ain't gonna hide that from anybody. He can redeem himself by getting back in there, rallying the old troops. He's the Michigan Speaker of the House, and hopefully with his encouragement of Chair Leitner, somewhat swiftly here passing red flag repeal. That'll be a good start through the committee, getting it to a House floor vote. I'll be watching the Speaker's vote, and I will compliment his vote if or when he can vote for red flag repeal. And look, many, many other things. Just red flag repeal is the one that we have on the table right now. So I agree with you, man. You worded that very fairly, actually. Yeah, Matt Hall needs to step it up with the Second Amendment. Yes, he does. He needs to get in there and he needs to do a little bit more. We need to see that. And I think that's very fair for you to say that. And I encourage you all to be encouraging the Speaker of the House, Matt Hall, to do exactly that. At Colin 1951. Thanks for the super chat. Colin, I appreciate it, man. And he says, I don't know Jocelyn. I won't vote for her. How bad can she be? Honest question. Happy winter from the UP. Now, here's the thing, man. Those Upers even have it a lot worse than I do. It's even colder up there. There's even way more snow up there. So, trust me. I didn't say where I live in Michigan I have it the worst. You know what I'm talking about, Colin, but I'd like to be in Alabama maybe about right now. I could do South Carolina. I could do Georgia. I could do Florida. I could do parts of Texas. You know, that would be nice. Mississippi. Okay. Just parts of some of these states. Parts of these states I wouldn't want to live in because big cities in any of these states are usually hellholes. But Louisiana, right? I mean, just somewhere way down south I could do right about now. For a few months, your first 80-degree day, I'm going to shoot back up north, though. Like, I just might go all the way above the bridge and hang out with Colin up there in the summer because it's even a bit cooler in the UP. Chime in the chat, guys, and fill Colin in a little bit because I think some of you guys know what I'm talking about here. I think I saw Mike talking briefly about Jocelyn Benson. And to be fair, Colin, I did kind of answer your question before I read your super chat. Hey, if you're a Second Amendment supporter, she tried to ban guns from all polling locations unilaterally. Okay. This was before any laws were passed. She tried to just unilaterally ban guns from whole wide swaths of areas, trying to disenfranchise a bunch of Second Amendment supporters and just election integrity. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Like, it could literally be like a days-long conversation with her. So yeah, it will be really bad for many reasons, namely the Second Amendment. If this is even possible, and I know it's tough to imagine, probably quite a bit even to the left of Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud because I think Gretchen Whitmer is like one of the worst governors in any state of all time. Like, she's got to be like in the worst 3. Like, she's that bad of a governor, in my opinion. I believe Jocelyn Benson is even like noticeably further to the left of Gretchen. I know it sounds impossible, but I think so. I really do. Snowbird. Yes, sir. What's happening, Harry Gremley? How you doing, man? Good night, Marco Polo. I'm going to jump off in just a minute because it has gotten late. Nashville's gone very common. I know, dude. It's the big cities everywhere. And I've been to several parts of Tennessee, and it's a beautiful state, but in Nashville, yeah. I get it, man. Oh, there's lots of narcissists and psychopaths in politics. That's 100% true. I totally agree with that. Yep. Is that true, Dale? Dale says, Matt doesn't respond to any of my notes, but I get them from Slotkin, Stevens, and Peters. That's disappointing. Yeah, I think it would go a long way here coming up. It really would. It really would. If any of the Republican Central Staff consultants are watching right now, I think it'd go a long way with the 2A community in Michigan if the Speaker of the House could kind of come out a little more on the good side of the Second Amendment. Because I don't know, Dale. You're not the first person that's told me that, though. I've had a hard time getting a meeting with the Speaker myself, too. Like, I do get that. He's never written me back either. So I don't know. But here's the problem. Lori Pohutsky's never written me back either, though. They don't really write. I don't know. Some of them don't write, do they? What's happening, Pillbox Bunker? How you doing, man? Thanks for being a channel member. He says they're talking maybe snow in Florida. Well, then where the heck am I going to go, dude? I said, dude, I'm going to go down south to like Alabama. If I need to, I'll go way down south to Florida. If it's snowing there, where's a guy going to go? I just want to be one of those, though. I just want to like shift back and forth and wax and wane with the weather patterns. I really, really think that's what I want to do. What's happening, Rosie? How you doing? Thank you for being a channel member. She says, Florida. Dude, like in the winter, I'd love to go down to Florida. I just don't like 100-degree weather at all. And there's like a thunderstorm there every day in the summer. Yep, I just want to be that guy. How you doing, by the way? How's your leg healing up? Are you getting some progress, I hope. I hope you're hanging in there, Rosie. Oh, a couple of you guys are talking about, whoa, 2 of you grew up in the same town in California? Is that possible? Look, I know the weather's like crazy awesome in parts of California. I just don't want to be there around like New Scum, and well, I'm sure that's why you guys left, right? You guys are talking about Governor J.B. Prickster and Tim Waltz. Tim A. Walls. Wow. Now, that's crazy. Is this true? Like 2 people in this chat here hanging out. Who would have thought? Both grew up in the same town in California. Like I've never even heard of that town before, but that's pretty cool. Wow. Now, look, I have no doubt the weather's good in California. I don't want to be there. Does that make sense? But here's the thing, though. Michigan, Johnson Benson becomes governor. Wow, man. We might be running from Michigan to California. I'm being serious. If Lori Pohutsky gets back that gavel again, and then Jocelyn Benson becomes governor of Michigan, you might be running to California to get a little bit of peace of mind. It could get that bad. I mean, I know some of you know what I'm talking about. What do you think, Dale? I'm being dead serious. This is not me joking. You might go to California for more freedom if Lori Pohutsky gets that gavel back in the Michigan House, and then Jocelyn Benson governor. Ooh. You might join the CCP to get yourself a little more freedom if that happens. It's called Californication. Yes, it is. No, and that's the thing, Rosie. I'm sure there's wonderful things you guys miss about the hills, your neighbors, the weather. It just sucks, man. Like, why do these people always have to ruin nice things? We could have a nice country with the Second Amendment written the way it's supposed to be. But the other side, they just don't want us to have anything nice. Ooh, 65 in Phoenix. I could do that like right now. Dude, I just want to go to Phoenix right now. Let's do this, guys. No, Florida has hurricanes. No, I get you, dude. I'm going to be that guy, though. I'm just going to keep bouncing back and forth. Like, as the winds blow, I'll be moving states. You know what I'm saying? I need a lot of money to do this. Don't get me wrong. This is going to cost me a lot of money. Yeah, dude, man. We just need, like, I mean, I should just come back and be like, just joking, and renounce everything I've said. Get on with the big lobbyists, become rich. Just like Paul's saying, I could sit there and do a stream from the Cayman Islands. That would be awesome. Girl Carpenter, what's happening, man? Says just come down to Indiana. Hey, Indiana'd be fine too for the warmer months of the year. Ohio or Indiana. Yep, I hear you, Dale. I mean, okay, hold on a minute. Max Payne says, if you know, you know. No, there's tornadoes in Michigan, Tin Man says. That's true. That's true. Now, Mike Hammond says, I'm in the minority here, but I love the snow. I wish we still had good winters like back in the day. I hear you, dude. Snowmobiling, ice fishing. I used to play ice hockey. Like, dude, I grew up in Michigan and all. Here's my problem, man. I've been plowing snow for 25 years. It messes up my sleep schedule. Like, I'll give you a quick example. This is why I hate this stuff. So, like, inherently, like, way over here, there is something kind of still cool about the snow, I guess. But here's what's not cool about it. I woke up at 6 p.m. this morning, if that makes any sense. Yeah, my days and nights are all flipped around right now. It's miserable. Can't even see my own family. Just literally just like, it's goofy, man. It snows. Then it snows a little more. You melt it all with salt. Then it refreezes. Then there's drifting. Then there's another snowstorm. Then there's Wednesday. Snow forecasted less than an inch. It snows 20 for 3 hours, ending at noon, less than an inch. It continues to snow for 20 hours straight, 6 inches. So yeah, like I get it, dude. Like sledding is awesome, and snowman. I like building a snowman. Like I've just lived and breathed this stuff too long. So yes, I'm trying to remember back a day, and I literally have to go back like pre-2001. Started doing snow removal in 2001. I've just been doing it too long. I'm burnt. I'm cooked. Come hell or high water, this needs to be my last year doing snow removal, if I can be frank with all of you. So yeah, man. No, I get it, dude. I'm happy for you. I'm kind of jealous. I do faintly remember a time where I could still like snow. You know what I mean? I do wish I could get back there again, because in a bubble, there would be something. I'm just cooked. I'm burnt. I've been doing it too long. Does that make sense? Yeah, there you go, Ron. Plow for 30 hours, sleep for 2. I know, and you're out there and the equipment's expensive and you're rusting everything to pieces. It's just rust, more rust. Hey, I'm like a lot of you. I'm just doing what I have to do to survive, right? I can't cut grass in the winter time. I can't stain decks in the winter time. I don't make enough money in the summertime to take the winter off. Not particularly good with my money, because as I started off this stream, and this is a good way to conclude it. Look, guys, I'm just frustrated because the NSS off in their SHOT Show, I'm real frustrated, are calling for more funding for the ATF. Now, why would I be frustrated and can't just write this off and get over it? And it's still bothering me all week. I like guns. I like ammo. I like this stuff. I have to work so hard because I buy too much of this stuff, right? But, so yeah. Yeah, that's what I should do right there. There you go. Barbecue King, open a daycare without any kids. Could you imagine that? 2AE to use daycare. Screw it, man. I guess I need to get into the old lady's mascara and put on blackface and come in here. Put on that thick Mogadishu accent. You know what I'm saying? And get out here and start shilling for my new daycare facility. Can you believe that? Can you believe what's going on over there? I was talking to a friend on the phone right before the stream. I'm like, look, they're just taking over like Minnesota, so many other places. There's a lot of them in Michigan too. A lot more than people want to admit. Like a lot more. Getting sick and tired of all of them. They're not even grateful. They're all these alleged scams going on. Daycare without kids. Wow. It's literally just crazy. I was talking to a friend and I'm like, dude, doesn't anyone remember like the movie Black Hawk Down? And he's like, no, I don't think really many people have anymore. Or at least not younger people. Do any of you remember? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Somalia? There was a movie made called Black Hawk Down. The Skinnies. I mean, you guys can let me know. Now, I think within our community, our group of friends, a lot more people, but has even like, we'll just say that movie, because a lot of people just don't remember stuff. Like, it's just, man, this country can never just learn its lesson. Just the average normies are just so stupid. We just keep repeating ourselves over and over and over. It's like, man, oh man, people are like, oh, well, these people might not be that bad. Do you remember Black Hawk Down? I mean, now, I thought everybody's heard of that. These people hate us. These countries hate us. And we're surprised that they're working against us. I mean, like that poem that Trump used to always read, The Snake. There's a lot to that. When he's talking to the silly woman, the punchline is, you knew that I was a snake before you brought me in. I'm like, everybody knows that these people hate us. They've always hated us. We hate them. They hate us. Happily ever after. You get the heck out. We stay out. Let's just whatever. That's just how this stuff is. It's always going to be this way. But then I'm like, why are these people here? Does anybody not remember Black Hawk Down? He's like, dude, I don't think a lot of people do. And then we kind of shifted the topic a little bit. I'm like, does anyone remember the Beirut Marine Corps barracks bombing? And he's like, dude, I don't think many people remember that either. And I'm like, wait a minute. Does anyone remember why they brought the Marine Corps back? Because just remember the Marine Corps, it's interesting. There was a Marine Corps. They disbanded it. They brought it back. I believe they've disbanded it twice and brought it back. But does anyone remember their old theme song? It's still their current one too, but does anyone remember it? From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Does anyone remember why they call the Marine Corps the Leathernecks? They had to bring back the Marine Corps, I believe the first or second time. I'm not a scholar on the Marine Corps, but I think I remember more about it than most people, obviously, or we wouldn't find ourselves in this stupid shape we're in, right? Like, they had to call the Marine Corps back up to go out and sail the seas with leather around their neck to protect from these Muslims that were, they slashed the neck. That's how they fight, beheading. So it's not just an old saying. If you hear someone call a Marine today a leatherneck, it's because they were founded upon or brought up again. I might not be using the right words, but you guys know what I'm talking about. To go out on the seas and to have to fight these pirates. These pirates that are, the same ones that are running daycares today. In Minnesota, in Michigan, in many, many places. It's like, can't people get this through their thick skull? This is what this is. These people are not compatible with our people. Like, it's just not going to be. Been fighting for hundreds of years. Still fighting. They still hate us. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars they embezzle you give them. They still hate us. Now, here's the thing. You can go back and read the founding documents of this country. And guess what? They're talking about certain pirates from a certain part of the world, the Leathernecks, the Marines. You look at all these different steps in between. You look at it today. Again, like I said a couple hours ago, the more things change, the more they actually always stay the same, don't they? Now we can go back. Hold on a minute, because the Constitution's good. The Bill of Rights is good. The Declaration. Now let's go back to the good book. In the good book, there's an anthology of a lot of history, actually. Oh, and guess what? You'll find out even here that certain people have been fighting with certain people thousands of years. And somehow people just act like they're totally surprised. They're like, well, hold on a minute. I can't believe these people would be over here betraying us, ungrateful, violent. And then I started off, I'm like, well, yeah. Don't you remember Black Hawk Down? No, I guess not really. Okay. Do you remember? And I believe, I could be off, but it's still the same world. It's the second time the Marine Corps was created. Why? Have you read the Bible? And it's just like, it's kind of like, man, I think if you just like threw that out into the country, you just get like, for the most part, not everybody, not a lot of you. A lot of you are sitting here right now saying, yeah, like, you know what I'm talking about. But man, most people don't, though. They're like, I couldn't imagine that these people aren't compatible in our society. Yeah. They've never been compatible in our society. And that's the thing, man. As much as we don't want them here, they hate us even worse. That's the kicker. It's like, if you have a situation where nobody's happy, it's like, what do you mean? Who strives for that? Who strives for nobody's happy? It's this simple. If I could be the king of the U.S. for a day, it's this simple. Are you grateful? Do you want to be here? Are you an American? Have you renounced any loyalties anywhere else? And if their answer is anything other than, of course I've renounced, of course I'm an American. I can't even remember my past language. I'm learning English so well. If it's anything other than that, like, you need to get the heck out right now. And everyone would be happy, actually, because people like me don't want them here. They don't want to be here. I don't like them. They don't like me. The answer is real simple. You don't like me. I don't like you. You go your way. I'll go mine. We're both happy. It's a win-win. That's why with these types, they just need to get the heck out. Period. They're negatively affecting the Second Amendment. They're making it where people like us can't have nice things, and they just need to go. That's where I'm at. I'd rather not go to Dearborn and stand myself, actually. The Patriots Bible is a nice version, Ron, because it's something a lot of people forget about. It talks the historical context and how this country was founded based on the Word of God, and how the Word of God and the shaping of America. And it gives countless just little footnotes as you're going through, like real small little ones in some cases, up to and including like very large excerpts. You'll see little spots here and there where it just shows like a little area. Okay, President so-and-so swore in on this Bible, this type of Bible. And then it'll literally go through and give you whole stories. And it's in the context of the Bible verses. And some people believe in the Bible and every last word of it. Some people don't. And some people are somewhere in the middle. But it's really not up for debate. And that's why this is a good, not only spiritual book, because it's the Bible, but obviously, but it's also, this is a very good history book. The Bible is a history book too, but very specifically with the history of the United States, the founding all the way up until even much more recent history. This specific version of the Bible does contain both, because it's not a matter of opinion. The United States was founded upon Christianity. People argue with me this all the time, but it literally was. It was founded on, with like all of the founding fathers, but like two were Protestant Christians, actually. There's like one Catholic, I believe, from Maryland. Jefferson was known as being what's called a deist, however, still agreed with the Christian moral framework and compass for starting this country. Lots and lots of stuff about the Bible and the founding of this country, all the way through. You know what's crazy? And this isn't just my opinion. I'm just telling you guys stuff that is true. That the Bible itself and also the principles of the Bible definitely shaped the founding of this country, whether anybody likes it or not. Now, I do like that, but whether you do or not, right? And I'll also tell you something else. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. It's a big misconception. Doesn't say that anywhere. That's the two biggest pet peeves I've had lately. Well, hold on to AEDU. The Constitution says separation of church and state. Show me where it says that, because it actually doesn't. Then the other big one is, hold on, though, but it's the states' rights. No, there's no states' rights either. Show me where in the Constitution it says states' rights. And then the number one reply I get is, well, the 10th Amendment. Read it for once. There's no states' rights in the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment talks about that the power specifically enumerated, powers, not rights, two totally different fundamental things. Powers are delegated to the government by we the people. The government's created amongst men, deriving its just powers from the consent of the governed. The Declaration of Independence tells you how the government derives its powers. The 10th Amendment outlines that if it's specifically enumerated in the United States Constitution, the federal government would have that power. Now, the states would have a bit more power than the federal government. But ultimately, the main power would be in the people. That's a rough, easy to understand translation of the 10th Amendment. But the 10th Amendment does not say, and it never has, and it still doesn't say, these are states' rights. Because our rights are endowed by our Creator. That's what this country was founded on. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Rights are granted to you by God, by your Creator. And the only thing that can take your rights from you are your Creator. Your Creator puts you here, and your Creator will take you away. The government didn't create you. The government didn't grant you your rights. The Second Amendment doesn't grant you the right to keep and bear arms. It says the pre-existing right, the right to keep and bear arms, which the Founding Fathers acknowledged came from God, shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment tells the government they shall not infringe on our natural God-given right to keep and bear arms. The 10th Amendment doesn't give states any rights at all. The United States government has no rights. And I hear my friends saying this all the time, and I know it might be a little bit of semantics, but words matter. We need to stop letting the other side change our words for us. They'll say, well, hold on a minute. The federal government has the right to bring in the troops to Minnesota. And then the next person will come back, no, this is a states' rights issues. And I kind of know what people are getting at when they say that, but you're missing the forest through the trees when you don't think about choosing your words carefully. What you're really arguing about is what powers have been delegated to the state government versus the federal government, because people have rights. Okay, people have rights. Governments do not have rights. The president doesn't have the right to do anything. The president has the power that the people delegate, that the people allow, that to them will seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. That's what the Declaration says. That's what this country was founded on. There's no states' rights. There's no county rights. There's no federal government rights. There's no city hall rights. People have rights. And governments have powers. And it's tough, man, because all these conservative podcasters, they get millions and millions of views. And a lot of them, I like what they're saying. But I was even listening to Tucker Carlson argue the other day saying, well, this is a states' rights issue. I'm like, stop saying states' rights, dude. There are no states' rights. And people need to fundamentally understand there's a difference between delegated powers and rights. And then they'll say, but to save our democracy. No, we're also not a democracy. The United States was founded as a representative constitutional republic where you have representatives, okay? We are a representative form of government where the Constitution remains the supreme law of the land. Democracy's two wolves voting against one sheep on what's for dinner. Democracy is a terrible thing. Straight democracy has never worked. Then why do we have, I say we, just we the people, even people like on the right, people that are conservative, people that may be Republicans. I'm just using all these words. Like, I'm not talking about the other side. They're out and out communists, but even what you might consider our side per se, big air quotes, right? Our side still runs around talking about states' rights, still runs around talking about our democracy. It's like, dude, we need to understand, like, and again, this is not me being semantics, pedantic. No, like, these words actually matter. These words are fundamental on what's supposed to make America different than other countries. These aren't minor details that I'm bringing up here. This is the core essence of what this country was founded on. And I think when we sit back and we're like, dude, our country doesn't even really resemble the United States in a way, these are the reasons why. Words do matter. A republic is not the same thing as a democracy. States' rights are not the same as states' powers. And I think most of you understand what I'm saying, and it's just too bad that I can't get this message out to more people, because I believe not many people actually understand this at all anymore. People that, I kind of do like, actually. People on our side that are widely popular. Man, they always talk about states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. And when you're talking about President Trump and the capacity as president, the president has no rights. They have powers. Now, Donald Trump personally, as a person, he has rights. That's how it works in this country. If you're a public servant, if you're elected to office, you still also remain a person. So whereas, I'll bring it a little closer to home. State Representative Jamie Thompson, let's just be very specific here. State rep has no rights. She has powers that are delegated by the people, by the Constitution. State rep has powers, period, end of story, no rights. Now, State Representative, Jamie Thompson. Now, Jamie Thompson's a real person. She's a person just like me, just like you. She has every bit of rights we have in her personal capacity. So it's easy to understand. But in their official capacity, as they're wearing their very specific presidential hat, representative hat, city councilman hat, they're operating only under the powers and the consent of the governed. Think about that for a minute. And they're supposed to be, and this is what a representative form of government is supposed to be, on the Michigan state level, it's about 91,000 people they have to go in and cast a vote for. But they also have to uphold and defend their oath to the Constitution. So it doesn't matter if all 91,000 of everyone in their district wants them to violate the Constitution, they actually can't. They still have to vote to uphold and defend the Constitution, and that's what's different. If you have people of good moral character representing you, that representative's going to stand there and say, dude, I don't care if everybody in my district wants me to violate the Second Amendment. Or if it's in a Michigan level, Michigan Article 1, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution. Hey, the Constitution prohibits me from doing this. I can't do it, and it doesn't matter if every single voter wants me to violate this Constitution. I cannot do it. And that's one of the big fundamentals and principles of how our country is supposed to be different than other countries. And that's why it ticks me off when people say, our democracy, our democracy. No, there's times when the vast majority of the people, the herds of the masses, will want to violate the Constitution. It's happened time and time and time again in other countries. And the founding fathers knew that. See, our senators aren't supposed to be elected the way they are now. Remember this. Our United States senators are not supposed to be a democratic, popular vote for the state. No, our state legislature is supposed to vote for our United States Senate. That's how the country was founded. Just remember, the direct election of senators is not in the founding documents. So many things right now that we're operating under are not in the founding documents. Because I've had this conversation with a few people lately, and I know I'm running long here. I'm not going to go too much longer, but this is an important topic as always. I've had a few people argue, what do you mean we're not a democracy? Everyone in the state of Michigan gets to cast a ballot for their United States senator. I'm like, yeah, but that's the problem. That is not how senators were elected when this country was founded. So that is a problem. Now, there was some corruption going on, and people inherently are not always so good, as you all know. And they decided they needed to change it up. Was it for the better or the worse? I don't know. And yeah, there's been so many paradigm shifts in this country. Like I've said, the most recent one was around 2020. We've had a lot of them. 1913. 1965, the Hart-Celler Act. Has anyone heard of it? Signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, the Hart-Celler Act. You know, you guys talk about all these daycares in Minnesota where there's nobody there. Repeal the Hart-Celler Act. This isn't going to be a problem. Vastly shifted the immigration over from generally European countries where people come over here on the basis of working, being contributor member to society, switched us over to more of the refugee model that we have now. Now we're under a refugee model. Ship your outcasts, empty out your prisons in many cases in these countries, and just ship them all over to the U.S. We're under the immigration model of the Hart-Celler Act. Then again, probably nobody's heard of that either. Income tax, Federal Reserve. Go back to, I guess you call it the Civil War, right? You could call it that. It was called many things. It all depends, right? Like, if you're in the South, it was the War of Northern Aggression. If you were in the North, Southern Rebellion. In fact, when it was going on, there really wasn't even actually a name for it. But you had President Lincoln. He suspended your right for a writ of habeas corpus. He literally locked up dissenting politicians and judges and held them in jail with no charge of a crime. No speedy trial. Just literally sat there just because they were overruling him in court in some cases, or like jailing the Maryland legislature, and just all of this. I don't know. You really could say this hasn't been a country since I'm just going to call it the Civil War. Since the Civil War, I think there's an argument to be made. The law of the land, the Fugitive Slave Act, which was the law of the land at that time, said that they had to return a runaway slave. The North was not only not returning, but they were actually aiding and abetting and helping slaves escape that were at that time, under the laws, lawfully purchased property. I mean, it'd be kind of akin today that someone just comes and steals your combine from your field and says, we want it up here. I mean, that is how the slave trade was. They were handled as farm implements, and that was the law of the land. And then there's a lot of people that are, go with the heartstrings argument and say, well, slavery was just wrong and it just wasn't right. And I'm sure that's their sincerely held beliefs. I'm not saying that, but yeah, man, there is. Look, here's the problem, man. Like, people live in the North now. They live in the South now. So yeah, I live in the North. But really none of us live in either or. Like, that's all gone, dude. Like, the U.S. has been gone really probably since the 1860s, if you think about it. But yeah, man, regardless of all the moral arguments, and they're all day. They exist all day long, and I'm sure some of you have them right now. But, the law of the land, the Fugitive Slave Act, was not being upheld. And you had half the states that were like, well, we're living under this law. The other half's living under another law. There's many, many things. So yeah, that whole like states' rights thing, first of all, it never existed at all. But even states' powers, the 10th Amendment, yeah, that's probably been gone a long, long time now, actually. That's been gone a long, long time. For better or worse, I don't know for sure, but probably, I don't know. Because here's the thing. We lost this country so many ways during the Civil War, but if the South had remained a separate country, the CSA, okay, if we had the Confederate States of America, I don't know if things would be better or worse than they are now. Just because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know if for the last 160 years, if the Confederate States were a separate country and maybe it'd be treated kind of like how U.S. and Canada is now. I could just guess all day. I don't know. I know Reconstruction did a lot. What's called the Reconstruction era did a lot to like further destroy this country. So yeah, man, that was a big, big time in this country, the quote unquote Civil War. And look, I know, guys, Jefferson freed slaves. I mean, you guys can have all your opinions on this, and please do. I was just kind of saying, like, the whole, like, it was the law of the land at that time. That's all I'm trying to say. So people from the North were like, look at these people in the South. They're doing this that's wrong. And then people in the South are like, no, dude, these people in the North are violating the laws. And you ended up where in many cases, brother was fighting brother and neighbor fighting neighbor, because there might be this little magical line in the sand, or maybe a river that you know, separates one state from the other. I mean, look at West Virginia, for example, gets split off into another state. So West Virginia can be part of, quote, the North, the Union, with Virginia being Confederate. So you literally had states either dividing themselves physically into two different states. You had people like moving, shifting where they lived, because some people that lived in the North did sympathize with the South and moved down to the South and fought for the Confederates. You had people that lived in the South defect up north to fight for the Union. You could literally have like an imaginary line that says, here where I stand here is the North, and where you stand 6 feet away is the South, and draw on each other. I mean, like, I'm not even really being hyperbolic. There were scenarios that weren't too much different than that. Like, dude, but we're neighbors. Yeah, but you're on the other side of the street, and you're now considered in the Union. I'm now considered a Confederate. Some of them shook hands and switched sides. Some of them did this, but other ones wound up in battles with each other. But I don't think the states had a whole lot of powers. I'll tell you that much. All right. I have a couple more super chats that I definitely need to read here before I sign off. So I'm glad I just looked over here. Colin L just left another super chat. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate it, man. He says, I was in Phoenix, but had to take care of my childhood home property. I got a place there in Phoenix, moved back in 2 years. Oh, so you're going from like where it's crazy cold to like really warm. That's got to be a huge, huge difference for you to try to assimilate to. Man, I feel for you, dude. We have My Rights Gone, Mike Reese. What's happening, man? How you doing? And thanks for being a channel member for 7 months. He says, God bless the USA. One nation under God. Amen. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that encouragement. And I do believe Christ is king. Like, Christ is like the only legitimate king, actually. And Mike just came in with another super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. He says, when man gets too much power and money, they become a false god that thinks they can rule you. No, that's true. No, that's really true. He says, just remember, we the people have way more power. We have become too blind to see this. Division equals chaos. No, I mean, you're right, man. We've abdicated our duty. We've basically said, because remember, it's your right. It's your duty to throw off a tyrannical government. That's what the Declaration of Independence says. It talks about rights, and then it talks about duties, which are closely related together, but duty is even a higher extent than a right, isn't it? Well, thank you for the other super chat. I appreciate you, man. And I thank everybody else for the, hey, no tax on tips. It goes back to the beginning of last year for the federal government, and then Michigan signed theirs in, just went into law here. Well, at the beginning of the new year, no tax on tips in Michigan as well. So thank you. I thought I saw somebody say something about the war here, and I did address that. And I don't know if you agree with what I said, Christopher, or not, but I think I did a fair job summing it up as quick as you possibly can in 5 minutes. Let me back up. I didn't really sum it up. It takes a long time to do that. But, hey, man, I think there is an argument to be made that, you know, you're saying the quote-unquote states' rights, that, look, states don't have rights. But I know what you're getting at. You're using the term other people do. Didn't the states' rights take a crap after the War of Northern Aggression? I get confused about this daily. You know what, man? I would honestly say that regardless of what side you take, and I get it, most people, that's just how we are. It is what it is. Most Northerners are going to look at it as a war of Southern rebellion. Most Southerners are going to call it the war of Northern aggression. I actually kind of see both sides of it, actually. And I've ripped on Lincoln, and I get a lot of people mad at me when I talk about the Civil War because I'm supposed to say, like, well, since I'm from Michigan, that was like the best way. But here's the problem, man. I didn't fight in the Civil War. Neither did anyone in this stream. And some of my family lived in the South back when that was going on. So it's just not that simple, right? Isn't it weird how people can do that? And you're not doing this, Christopher, and neither am I. It's just spawning me off to things people have said in the past where they're like, well, what the hell would you know about the Civil War 2 AEDU? You're nothing but a Yankee and you wouldn't know. I'm like, well, hold on a minute, dude. You wouldn't either, though, and neither would I. Like, nobody right now that's having a conversation fought in the Civil War. And it's just weird how stuff can kind of like juxtapose and you don't even know it, right? So it's very possible that maybe, and I'm just saying, and I have no idea where you live, Christopher. You're just reminding me of this. Just keep that in mind. I'm not even talking about you whatsoever or me. Just, I've gotten in this debate with people. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. How do you know that 150 years ago, my family didn't all live down south? And maybe at that time, all your family lived up north. It's just crazy how that works. But we still, in this day, right now, in this country, and it's alive and well, and I know it's alive and well. It's been made very clear to me that it's alive and well. More than I thought possible, actually, in recent years. But it's still North versus South in so many ways, okay? If somebody lives in the South right now, chances are they think the North was the bad guys. In many cases, someone lives in the North right now, they think the South is the bad guys when you talk about the Civil War. That just is what it is. But what's so weird, and I'm kind of chuckle about it, is the Civil War was a long, long time ago. And many people that have lived up north now their whole life, like 2A EDU, someone might say, you couldn't possibly be a Confederate. You talk funny. You don't have the draws, y'all. I know I don't. I know I talk funny compared to, I get it. It's cool. I like how Southern people talk, by the way. But I know I talk funny. Now, here's the thing, though. Would it be funny if my family lived down there back then? You know, I mean, so it's kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, yeah, but you didn't fight. And I'm like, well, I didn't fight in the Civil War, and neither did you. I've actually had that conversation with people. I've actually literally had it happen before. I even had somebody attempt to kick me out of the South, whatever that means, one time. They said, you talk funny. You don't talk like you're around here. And I said, well, that's the thing, man. America. I'm down here doing my thing. Yeah, but you can go back. I'm like, no thanks. And they're like, well, you Yankees and blah, blah, blah. And then they said, the South will rise again. We beat you before. We'll beat you again. And I said, well, here's the problem with you. Here's the problem with you, man. And look, I try to give someone with the whole home court advantage the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Somebody comes up here and starts calling me names because of you know, where I live, it ain't going to go well for them. So I try to understand that. And I was down south one day, and this guy says, you talk funny and you need to get the hell out. Now, I complimented his truck and said, like, I really like this truck, and I wish I could have like an 80s square-bodied truck. Like, I love square-bodied trucks. You can't have one in Michigan because it rusts all the way out. Complimented the man's truck. He declared that I was kicked out of his state of North Carolina and I wasn't allowed to come back. And my Yankee ass needed to go up there and not come back. And then it got into y'alls and all's y'alls in the Civil War. And I said, ain't you little cute, you little cupcake. You little poser ass fake Southern fried cock. Because here's the deal. Mine actually were down here during the Civil War. So what's the deal, dude? Like, it's just like, oh, I'm like, what are you even talking about? Go smoke some more meth. I mean, do whatever you're going to do. The guy looked like he was blitzed out of his mind. It's a weird thing, man. No, this country's been wrecked for a long time. I've had one of two things happen every time I go in the South, and there ain't much in between. I've met some of the nicest, most hospitable, just coolest people, like so polite I almost blush. They're so polite, people from the South. I've met them, and then I've met nasty, rotten, ornery people that are hateful because I talk funny. I'm like, look, man, it is what it is. Everyone that doesn't talk with a Southern accent doesn't come from New York City. I'm not a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. And I'll just kind of calmly say, yeah, I know I talk funny, but you're just going to have to deal with it because I'm American and I go wherever the hell I want. I've actually had to tell people this. I'm like, I go wherever the hell I want, just so you understand me here. Not joking. I've literally had to have this face to face. Well, yous and yours and yous and this. I said, look, dude, it's all good, man. But I'm going to go wherever the hell I want. So you need to understand this. So you can get the hell out of my face or you're going to be staying here for a long time. Now, second of all, you have no idea where I come from. And you have no idea where I was. And do you even know where you were during the Civil War? It's a weird topic, though. Meanwhile, there's Somalians just running daycares and third world countries. And I mean, it's just... Dude, we have tons of hateful people in Michigan. Of course we do. Obviously. No, we do. I truly mean what I say. Fun to learn. I've met the nicest people in the South. And I have tons of like super cool Southern viewers right here in my chat right now. I know I do. But I've had some people be really hateful to me before because I talked funny. It's happened to me. So I know it's real and I know there's still tension. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, I'm an American and I'm not going to let them intimidate me. Like, no one's allowed to tell me I'm not allowed to go down south. Like, whatever. Just like, to be fair, nobody up in Michigan should tell somebody that's Southern, like, you're not allowed to come to Michigan. Hell no. Dude, come hang out with me in Michigan, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's allowed to tell me where I'm allowed to go. Screw you. I'm just looking at this guy and I'm like, you know, whatever, man. And it's not just one guy. I was giving you one story, but it's happened a couple times. It's weird. It is weird. Dale says, people suck. Mother Nature claimed the frame of my GMC Envoy. I know. And sometimes it just takes 2 minutes to get to know each other. You know, people have this wrong impression. Like, somebody told me later, like, dude, I think that guy thought you were ripping on his truck. He had like a 1982, square body truck. I'm like, are you kidding me? I wasn't making fun of the guy's truck. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of a little person. When I walk up to somebody and say, dude, like, nice truck, man. I like it a lot. I actually mean it. Like, if I don't like your truck, I'm not going to walk up to you and say, nice truck. I like it a lot. But I guess I can't expect a stranger to not know that. But somebody later is like, dude, he thought you were making fun of him. He was driving like a 40-year-old truck. And I'm like, oh, heck no, dude. I love me a square body, like the boxier, the better truck. Like, dude, I love it. You really can't have that in Michigan. I mean, you can if it's like your Safe Queen. You can have like, I know a few guys here and there up here that have an old square bodied truck. Yeah, it literally sits like in a climate controlled, garage or pole barn all winter. They don't drive it. You can't have one as a daily driver up here. We'll just leave it at that. You couldn't do it. It's going to rust in half. Usually by the time a vehicle gets 10 years old, especially 15 years old, it's rusting in half. It truly, truly is. I like the old vehicles because I like the styling of them. There's just something about a truck with just that squared off front end. Just square all the way around, man. Square as a shoebox. Love it. I like them because they're easy to work on. I like them because, the older you get, they have less and less electronics in them. Yeah, they would put goofy smog stuff and this and that, but on an older engine, and look, I'm not advocating this, whoever's listening, fat boys out there, I'm just saying people have been known where you could bypass the old smog pump. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. But yeah, I just like them. I like the styling. I think they look good. And I like it that you can have a basic set of tools. Because I remember all this, man. I used to have these trucks. I used to work on these trucks back in the 90s. You know, back in the 90s, I was driving a 1979 Ford F-150. That was my dad's with the 300 straight six. You can sit on the inner fender while and wrench on the engine. So trust me, if I ever run into any of you guys, whether you're in the north or the south, I don't care where you're at, and I walk up to you and I'm complimenting your 1982, even your 1992, you know, they were still a bit more squared off back then. Yeah, if you have an old truck, I don't care if it's your beater or what it is. If you have an old truck, especially if it's beater, and I walk up to you and say, nice truck, that's a compliment. I love old trucks. And here's the thing. I don't even want like a mint condition museum piece truck where like I'd have to worry about like if I just nicked it a little bit. I mean, those are beautiful trucks. And anyone that goes to the car show, oh, I love it. I love going and looking at your cars. I do. But I don't want that myself. Like I want like a truck that runs, that isn't rusted in half, that's from like, you know, the late 70s, mid 70s, all the way up to, we'll just say, the early 90s, the square body truck. And I do not want it rusting in half. That's why I get jealous of anyone with like a 1992 or 1977 truck in the South, because it's not rotten in half. If it has a few little dents and dings in it, that's awesome, because that's what I want. I want to be able to throw my tools and equipment in the bottom of it and just use the thing like a man's truck and not have to worry about getting out there going, you know. And look, that's cool too. Like people who have nice things like that, awesome. I just really, really respect an old Southern rust-free truck, man. That's all it really comes down to. AZ Infidel, the Southern accent is just a hybrid British accent. It kind of is, isn't it? Actually, that is interesting. I think you might be right with that. I think you might be. So, well, bless your heart. Yeah. No, Ron's right. He says, we're headed towards Civil War 2.0, and it's not going to be the North versus the South. I know. Oh, man, I know. Oh, good night, Jim. Take it easy, man, if you haven't left already. I got another super chat here from Colin. 2A EDU has been removing snow since the Civil War. No, it's true. After I heard George Washington give his farewell address in person, right? Yeah, I just had to wait around another 70 years or so, and I got in there, and here's the thing, guys. I'm going to get everyone mad at my chat right before I sign off, because this blackout coffee is almost done. Make sure you check out the link down there in the old description for a way to help support the channel. But here's the thing, guys. I went where the money was. At certain points in time, I'd plow snow for the north. I'd plow it for the south. One day I was sending my invoice to Robert E. Lee. The next day I was sending my invoice to Ulysses S. Grant. Hey, I had to do what I had to do. That's why I'm so wealthy right now. That's why I'm so rich, obviously. So there you go. Let's leave this on a good note. And since I just got everybody mad at me, because yes, I did plow snow for the Union and the Confederacy equally. Well, here's the thing, guys. Long wink here. I actually jacked my prices up a bit more for the South. Just saying. Well, that's because they don't get as much snow, so it's economy of scale. So I did charge the South a little more, but I plowed snow for both sides. So please, if you did enjoy the stream tonight, which I know most of you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it wherever, because, hey, I did just get a thumbs down just now. I'm looking over here on my analytics. I said I plowed snow for the North and the South in 1861. Somebody did get a thumbs down, but that's okay. I couldn't possibly lie to you. I mean, it's true. I did plow snow for the North and the South. And you got to do what you got to do, right? Epic session, Vince said. Thanks as always. Well, you're welcome, Vince, and nice to see you, man. Barbecue King, thanks, man. I appreciate it. New York Outcast. Speaking of the Rust Belt, you know all about what I'm talking about. Like, you can't have a nice car rust in half. Giving me the thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Mike Hammond says, good night, guys, and have a good one. Well, thanks. You too. Matthew, you must be in northern Michigan. We got the same exact amount of snow. Michigan's weird, dude, right now. Like, you got the north and southeastern part where the weather patterns are kind of going like this. I am in a top secret, undisclosed portion of Michigan with my Olight pen that I'm messing around with. Make sure you check out this video if you haven't seen it yet on this PLX light. Like, I really think it's cool. And I will have a stream on Locals and Rumble soon, so make sure you guys are checking it out there. And I will see you all again soon. I'm just looking at you guys talking about some of these sweet old cars here. But, wow, look at all the... A 1970 International Harvester? Dude, like... Yeah, man. I actually like the old International Scout Diesel. Wow. Don't even get me started. I'll see you on Locals, Mike. And no problem, Matthew. If you want to check out, enjoy the replay because we talked about a ton of stuff tonight. And with that said, I'm going to go check and see if I need to add more diesel to the heater. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. And have a good one.